Wingfoiling has been around for a couple of years now, taking the water sports world by storm, with windsurfers and kitesurfers alike jumping on this new and exciting craft. In this video I'll go over why I am not wingfoiling and probably never will. So I myself have tried wingfoiling exactly 3 times so far, and the last time is more than 2 years ago. I have a total of around 2.5 hours on the wing, so just you guys know my level. I've not gotten super deep into that. I was managing to just go in a straight line and go around, but I did not manage to get the planing foiling jibe on this thing or do any of the tricks. So why do I feel that this thing is not for me if I have not gotten to a decent level yet? Well, a couple of reasons, but let's look first at why so many people have gotten into wingfoiling. I grew up at a tiny inland lake in North Rhine-Westphalia, the Möhnesee, and this lake is around 500 meters wide with hills on both sides. So as you can imagine, this was not the easiest spot to get into windsurfing. You have just very gusty winds because of the hills and the small lake, and most days you need also quite big equipment because it's inland, so not near the coast where the wind is stronger, so you need sails of bigger than 8 square meters to have at least a couple of windy days throughout the year. I have pretty much fallen in love with windsurfing around the age of 18, I believe I was. I was willing to put a lot into this sport. I did get big equipment pretty soon to be able to make most use out of even the 12-knot days and have, I don't know, maybe 6-7 days a month with proper wind for this. And I was also dedicating like my time, my calendar. Whenever there was wind on the forecast, I was dedicating all to this and just like basically trying to skip anything that was not windsurfing if I had a windy day. And yeah, what can I say now? It's like 10 years later, well actually 12 years later, I'm 30 now, shit. And I don't regret anything because I've fallen in love with this sport and I worked in different jobs before, but now I'm actually working inside the windsurfing industry. Let me tell you, it's not the easiest job, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a lot of fun to be working in your passion. So me putting a lot into the sport, I think is not the norm. And for most people, I think they will not bring this dedication to make windsurfing work in any kind of conditions on any kind of spot. That's just what I want to say. Let's just say it's not the most convenient sport. So around, how many years is it now? 5-6 years, the wing really started to pop off everywhere. And of course, when the new things come out, it's super exciting at first. Everyone wants to try it. And yeah, there's just this kind of gold rush feeling to jump onto this new thing. I think similar to what it was, I haven't really experienced that myself, but similar to what it was in the early 2000s when kitesurfing actually really started to take off. I mean, it's been around for a couple of years, but it really started to take off in the early 2000s. But I think the wing has a couple of advantages over the windsurfing gear that made this sport become so popular so quickly. The first thing that I mentioned in the previous chapter that windsurfing kind of struggles with is the wind range. You need a lot of equipment to be able to cover a wide range of conditions in windsurfing, and I think wingfoiling pretty soon had this advantage that you didn't need as much as expensive equipment as you needed in windsurfing to cover a wide wind range. You can start in lighter wind, it works up to pretty strong winds, and you need less equipment for this. So probably you can get away with just one wingboard and having 2 or 3 wings, and you can cover most conditions that you will encounter. With a windsurfing gear, you probably need more like 2 or 3 boards and 5-6 sails with the masts and booms, so it's a lot less equipment. The second aspect is that the gear itself is also a lot smaller. The boards are shorter, the wings can be stowed in very small packages, you don't need a mast that is super long, you don't need a boom. So it's a lot more convenient to carry around, get to the spot even with smaller cars, where windsurfing you always have the now 2.30 m something boards. Mast, booms, and you need maybe 2 boards, so it's a lot less hassle to get to the spot with all the equipment, which is a huge benefit of the wing. The third thing is that wingfoiling is simply easier. I probably don't mean easier as in when you're starting out. It's still a struggle probably to get onto the board, like kneeling and starting the wing, but from there the progress from what I've seen is simply much quicker. It's easier to ride once you get to a certain level and enjoy, whereas in windsurfing, I believe, you need to struggle for longer to get to a really good level, where you can manage to pump and plane through most of the lulls. And yeah, it just takes more dedication and more sacrifice to get there. And in wing foiling, I think more people are having fun much sooner. The fourth aspect, aside from the wind range, is that for most people, wing foiling just allows them to go in much lighter winds. In windsurfing, what I commonly see is that people kind of stop around the maybe 7 square meter range, and they are just not going in super light winds. And with the wing, it's much more accessible to also go in light winds, plane through the lulls. So for most people that are not like professional windsurfers, that are using also the big foil gear in light winds and stuff like this, for most people, the wing will just give them access to having fun in very light winds and yeah, with ease pretty much. And the fifth aspect is that the wing is more playful. It's easier to jump, to start making tricks, whereas in windsurfing, I can tell you from experience, it requires years to just make like small little jumps and tricks like the freestylers. It just requires so much to be able to do this. And I think in wing foiling, to make your first jumps and, you know, even just like carve around, I can see wing foilers all the time, they're going in lines and making 360s. And yeah, this is just much more playful, and you can do more of this kind of freestyly thing on the wing compared to windsurfing, where it's much harder to learn these maneuvers. So this really is one of the main questions for me when it comes to if I want to be winging. Do I want to be foiling the entire time, or do I also want to be on the fin? Because the wing pretty much only works on the foil. The wing itself, it's not the most like efficient engine that powers your stuff. And foiling actually doesn't require so much power. So you can get away with the wing as your craft on a foil, but on a fin it doesn't really work too well. I've seen a couple of the pros and some guys trying it in super strong winds with a fin, and it doesn't look like it's a super nice experience to be winging without a foil but with fins. And as you guys who follow my channel for quite some time know, I'm a huge advocate of the fin. Foiling is awesome for me in lighter winds, to make long distances, even like little trips. And also the feeling of flying freely over the water, this foiling feeling, it is quite fun. But for me at least, in no way does it beat the feeling I get when I'm fully locked onto my slalom gear, feeling the full power of the sail through my arms and blasting over the water with the board just barely skimming over the waves. I don't get this in foiling. So for me the answer, if I want to be only foiling, is simply no. I do, however, enjoy foiling, as I've said, so why am I not just simply going wing foiling in lighter winds and then I'm switching onto my windsurf gear on the fin on stronger winds? I think for a lot of people now this is the option and what they are doing, so why have I decided against that? Well, for me this comes down to the nature of the wind foil equipment and the wing foil equipment. So what I'm doing is like race wind foiling. Wing foiling is more playful, whereas wind foiling, at least in my view, is more performance orientated. I'm not a freestyler and I'm mainly active in the fast-paced disciplines like speed, like slalom or slalom foiling. So because I want to be having this feeling of going really fast and being locked in, and I'm not looking for this playful feeling on the foil. For me, the wind foil is just the better option, and that's why I stick even in light wind with a wind foil. So what really is the biggest reason why I'm still windsurfing and not wing foiling? Well, I kind of have the feeling that windsurfing itself is such a vast thing, and I've only discovered like one piece or two pieces of the pie maybe. Because there's so many things in windsurfing that I still want to do, I want to learn. Like wave surfing. You've seen my videos, I've been like wave surfing 5, 6, 7 times in my life. And I'm just looking for the conditions to improve on that. And just this whole thing that there is still to learn, this is so exciting for me, and I don't want to be like switching onto something new that is coming along every 10 years, whether it be kite surfing or wing foiling, and leaving windsurfing behind. Just this feeling that windsurfing in itself has so much room where I can still improve is just so exciting for me, and that's, I think, the main reason why I'm sticking to windsurfing over trying wind foiling. The last reason that I'm not sure I wanted to talk about, but that is also probably a big factor in my decision, so I think I have to mention it, why I'm kind of hesitant to go wing foiling is that I'm working inside the windsurfing industry. And how do I put this carefully? Let's say the adoption of the wing a couple years ago was not the easiest for the whole industry. I think the issue in this industry is that compared to like the 80s and 90s, all the brands in windsurfing have to have so many products. You have to have so many lines, whether it be boards or sails and masts and booms and all the accessories. So even like small brands have to have probably thousands of products. What this does, it just makes the production costs on each item higher. It makes planning the whole thing, like how much do you need of a certain mast, of a certain sail, whatever, that much more difficult. And then Wing came along, and I think the total number of people who are into water sports have not grown. So there were just that many brands popping off in wing foiling, and that many of the windsurfing brands also adopting the wing. This got even crazier, that like for the same amount of customers, the brands now also had to put wing foil stuff into their range. And I think this has been a big struggle for the industry in the past years, because I feel also the industry overestimated a little bit how much wing foil would pop off. So there's now so many brands competing for this pie in wing foiling, and I feel honestly it just has hurt the industry a little bit, and everyone working in it, including me of course. So maybe it's a little bit of a selfish reason, but that's kind of why I don't like the wing so much, if I'm being completely honest, because it has taken away from windsurfing in this aspect. I mean, it's a natural thing, and I can understand why people like this sport so much. It has, like I said, it has a lot of benefits over windsurfing. It's just, I'm a little bit scared where it will go in the future. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this video, but there was this video on like the para wing. So I feel like wing foiling is already like the hybrid between windsurfing and kite surfing. And now I feel like someone wants to invent the hybrid between wing foiling and kite surfing. And in the end, the problem that there will be, let's just say in the 80s or 90s, maybe that's a good example. There used to be a lot of one design classes, like the windsurfer, I don't even remember all the names, probably you guys know it best in the comments, like the Mistral Equip. There used to be a lot of classes where there were not like, where the brands didn't have 80 boards, but a few boards. And I feel this made the whole industry and the sport a lot easier, A, for the brands, but B, also for the people doing the sports, because you didn't have to choose between 80 boards and 120 sails. It was much easier. You had the option between a few boards. And now there's like, you have to choose between 5 sports and water sports, and then in these sports what discipline, and then it's just so many options, and it's making it so difficult, I feel. And maybe this is why I am honestly, besides the reasons I mentioned, a bit hesitant to go wing foiling more. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments down below if you are wing foiling yourself. Quite interesting to me how many of the people who are watching my channel are actually into wing foiling. Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would be super happy if you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye bye.